So one of my picks for RPGs was the Mass Effect trilogy. Have you guys played Mass Effect? I know you have, Cynthia, but what about you, Brian?
I played the first game and the second. I never dipped into the third one, but the soundtrack for the first game stands out. I remember firing up. It was one of the first games I ever played on 360, and just sitting at the menu for a while, like the main menu with just the soft ambient music, and uh, yeah, the music for that game is incredible.
Yeah, upon revisiting it for this podcast, I was thinking that I remembered in my mind that Mass Effect 2 and 3 were the soundtracks I liked the most, but it turns out that I actually like Mass Effect 1 soundtrack a little bit more than the other two. I mean, the second two are 2 and 3 are technically better from a compositional standpoint, a lot more orchestral and just a lot more meat on the bone there, but it's for whatever reason I think the Mass Effect 1 soundtrack is kind of the best one. It's a little bit more simplistic, and even though I don't really like the music per se, there's just something about it that really stands out to me, and it always jumps to the forefront of my mind anytime I'm thinking about video game soundtracks. There's just something about the sounds and the themes, like even the main sort of Mass Effect theme, is just something that just always stands out to me is very iconic to those games and a big part of what gave them their backbone and feel to me.
Well, it's like I said earlier with electronic music going with like futuristic themes. This is it. You're in space, you're flying around with the spaceships, and you have blasters and all this other technology. It doesn't actually exist. And then you have all the electronic music with synths and drum machines and stuff. So like you said in Mass Effect 1, the soundtrack is different from 2 and 3. So the first one to me is more synth heavy, where it really relies on like simpler compositions and stuff like that, especially like the menu. The menu theme is just this really ambient sound, and even when you like click buttons or you click the menu and you go through the UI and stuff, it has these like old school sci-fi kind of feel to it with the synths, and it's just like this like these I don't know, stuff that you would see in movies and like Star Trek and Star Wars and all that stuff. It just has that feel, and I think it's very iconic in its own right because it just goes with
Yeah, the
sci-fi.
two picks I drew from the first game are the Normandy and Spectre Induction, and to me those are sort of the two tracks that have themes that just always stick out in my mind as like the most important part of Mass Effect. Anytime I think about Mass Effect, I think about the themes and the melodies of those two songs in particular. And then in Mass Effect 2, my favorite track was called Mars. And like I said, the Mass Effect 2 soundtrack's a little bit different. It still has that synthy type vibe, sort of underlaid on top of more orchestral type sounds and compositions. But that's my favorite.
So, interesting fact, my alarm on my phone is actually Mass Effect 1's Galaxy Map. The song's called Uncharted Worlds.
Yeah,
And
that's a good one too.
yeah, I don't know. It's not like amazing, but when I hear that song, just like just the song, the melody itself always reminds me of like the galaxy map opening up, and then you're all of a sudden on the map, and you're just looking at all the different galaxies and stuff and places you can go. And I just love that. I just love that visual and the idea of just having like the world or the universe at your fingertips.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. It's like opening that map and being like, which planet am I going to go to?
Like, what am I going to find? Basically nothing, because it's kind of repetitive, but you know what I mean? Like the allure of adventure is there. And I love waking up to that in the morning because it's such an easy, smooth song to wake you up. It just pulls you out of your sleep. I don't know. In Mass Effect 3, the main theme called Leaving Earth, I love that track. It is, if I had to pinpoint what it is I love about it, it's like the French horns. It's like those unpolished French horns from last week. It's this like massive brass horn. And I think it's supposed to replicate like the Reapers. Like the Reapers coming, and the Reapers are the antagonists of the storyline, but the Reapers coming to the planet and basically just extinguishing life on it.
Yeah, well, that's the song that played on the, I think it was the original trailer or one of the trailers when that game came out, and they were showing the Reapers actually come to Earth and all that. So I think you're right about the intent behind the French horns and the overall sound. But I don't know. I'm just not a really big fan of that track in particular. That song, it doesn't really stand out. It's kind of slow and meandering a little bit to me. I don't know. It's kind of basic, but it fits with the moment in the game, which I think is kind of a point to a lot of video game soundtracks. Is that's the sort of difference to me, and I think why I didn't. Why I've never been a huge fan of soundtracks in general, not just with video games, but other stuff, is like, as opposed to like normal music where it's just people writing whatever they want to write, to express themselves. Sometimes, while you can have a lot of creative freedom, obviously, by doing a video game soundtrack, I think there's just certain soundtracks, certain songs and pieces of music that are written to a moment or written to a specific mood or gameplay event or whatever. And so I think this Leaving Earth main theme in particular is just kind of written to evoke the emotion of that moment. So while it's not compositionally, musically interesting in my opinion, it definitely fits with that part of the game.